How do you see intelligent automation and agent-based systems transforming telco operations in the next 5 years?
Okay, I think 5 years is a long time in this game. It's really difficult to get a crystal ball out and say exactly what's going to happen. And I think many people say actually that you tend to overestimate what you can do in 1 year, but underestimate what you can do in 5. So I'm always really conscious of that. I think if you look at the technical landscape at the moment, everyone is excited about at the moment is obviously AI. That's not going to come as a surprise to anyone, right? But I think if you look around at the vast majority of organizations now and look at how they're using AI, the majority of them are only using it in a standalone way with individuals. So, for example, with Copilot and people using GPT. So they're using it for personal tasks to improve their own productivity on specific aspects. But I think speaking, quite generally, enterprises are struggling to see a lot of benefits coming back from that. And that's where we are at the moment. But in addition to that, what we are starting to see is if you look at my particular area, which is robotic process automation, we're starting to see AI come in and infuse certain aspects of that. So around discovery, error handling, intelligent document processing in particular. So we're starting to see AI come in and really enhancing RPA and taking it beyond where it traditionally sat, really. But I think what's going to be absolutely huge in the next 5 years is the proliferation of digital voice agents or voice bots, whatever you want to call them. Up until now, yes, we've had chatbots online, but they've been very, very intent driven. And have forced people to go down, in effect, a decision tree. We've called them natural language, but in reality, not really been. It's all been about forcing people down a decision tree. But we're at a point now. I worked with Vodafone 20 years ago, putting in one of their first speech recognition applications. But we're in such a different position now. We're at a point where speech is recognized in just as good a way as humans would. And in fact, the computers can now talk back to you in what is really natural language. So it's only really a case now of making that integrate with back-end systems and the automation in the back-end to be able to complete the tasks. And once we've got that sorted, really, I genuinely feel that we will be able to complete a very large proportion of call center tasks with digital agents. Obviously, you've got online chatbots as well. Same thing for them. It's about giving customers the choice of what channels they want to interact with. And I think choice is absolutely key here. I think looking even further ahead, we will see agentic automation develop. And what I mean by that is the likes of, for example, we've seen Anthropic's computer use, we've seen Operator and Mariner coming out. And this is the ability for an application using AI to look at a screen and determine the next action right the way through until that action is completed. And it's doing that without an algorithm, right? That's really interesting, and it's going to throw the automation space completely on its head. But of course, the issue with that is it's based on generative AI, and that means, generative AI can hallucinate, right? Who wants to be using an agentic process in a bank if it's going to hallucinate with your finances? It's not ideal, is it? So it needs to be really thoroughly robust. And I'm not sure how we can get to that stage, but I think it's coming and we need to prepare for that. But whether that is in the next 5 years, I'm not sure. If I had to hedge my bets, I would say that probably in year 6 or 7. So what is going to happen is we're going to see automation and RPA being infused with AI. We're seeing more and more multiple vendors coming along. We're seeing more and more low-code delivery. And that means citizen development is going to explode and expand. But the problem there, it all comes back to governance. So how do you orchestrate all these different forms of automation, these chatbots and voice bots as well? How do you manage those and orchestrate them as a whole? And that's where the real challenge is going to be, I think.
Cheers. Dr. Basit, any thoughts?
The telco industry is really struggling in a positive sense with the technology, and it's got a bad experience with what was sold to it in terms of cloud, bad experience what was sold to it in terms of 5G, and now Gen AI and so on and so forth. The adoption of intelligent automation is well on its way inside the telcos. And in terms of the work that I've been doing, it's helping telcos achieve efficiency using AI. And sort of a lot of the telcos have managed to get their front end dealing with the customer churn, and even with the customer care center that Tim's spoken about, they've got that automated at some point. What I'd add to it is that there's a slow shift in thinking now. So gone is the hype about let's automate jobs away, and there's more of an understanding that we actually need to automate tasks. We need to help the individual along that path. And I think that's a very positive thing. What it's doing then is actually setting the mindset a bit more in a more nuanced fashion to say, well, okay, take this individual out and then put a bot in there. It's how can we help this bot along? And I think that journey is going to accelerate. I think we're going to see a far more enhanced performance from the customer care center. But my feeling is that it's going to be where your Gen AI is helping the customer care center agent along. And I think at some point in time, it will transform. I mean, I think Tim's right. About 5, 6, 7 years from now, you will have a transformation where the customer agent interaction with the Gen AI helping agent along will give the customer care center enough data so that it can actually automate the bulk of the decisions away, the bulk of the interactions away rather. I think we're a bit early on that stage. So I think that the perspectives Tim has said are valid. I just say that the learning curve is increasing on the network side. Obviously, the telcos are careful about touching that. I mean, you don't go on to that side, primarily because it's a far more complicated beast than your customer side. That's the first thing. And secondly, any automations you introduce on the network side have to be seen through in terms of an ROI. But I think that the Gen AI solutions coming along will slowly get transferred into simple autonomous network activities. And we all know that TM Forum's got this level 1 to level 5 or 6, and different telcos are at different levels. The RPA is here to stay. It's going to help the telcos automate and unify the way their network operations are. And as time progresses, then as the Gen AI on the customer agent side matures, they'll have a better understanding of how Gen AI actually functions, and they'll introduce that on the autonomous network side. So I do see that side also being affected by intelligent automation and agents.